Hello, hello. Wow, I very nearly completely ruined the news by coughing in the middle of it.
That's close. A shame.
Yeah. We're back. We took last week off, and then obviously Mark and Max steadied the ship last Friday, and it's great to be back in this chair with you two. There will be a lot of coughing on today, probably. I was diagnosed with asthma.
I thought you said coughing, and I was there like...
Cry for the fat kid in year 7 who can't run cross-country, because that's essentially me. But yeah, we're coming back on a great note. It's the first episode of a two-parter. It is the return of...
NFLementary Narwhals!
Okay, that's not the jingle I was expecting. That was supposed to be the NFLementary Narwhals, which is our super fantasy team that we make every year, but sounds more like someone injected Mark with local anaesthetic in his vocal cords. Yeah. Yeah, moving forward. So for those of you who missed it last year, the NFLementary Narwhals is our, like I said, our fantasy team. Let's imagine that the NFL has crashed and burned. Roger Goodell comes to us three, as you know you logically would, because what three minds are in a better
before
place.
He come to Kaepernick.
Very true. Hashtag justice.
They're setting up the English Football League.
Yeah, and they basically say, look, you need to start a team. You can pick anyone you want. There's no cap space issues. Just go crazy, make the best team possible. So that's what we're going to do. This episode, we are focusing on the defensive side of the ball. We'll basically just go through all the positions and try and reach a consensus. We all have a list of players we want in, and we'll try and. There will obviously be some players who I doubt anyone would disagree on.
Case Keenum.
Brilliant. There will be some players that probably I argue for that will get shut down.
Can you remember when Mark, by the way, tried to put Case Keenum in the top 10 quarterbacks last year?
Do you know what? I feel like I can remember that. And what's Keenum doing now? Oh. And a literal football organisation has decided that Joe Flacco is better than Case Keenum.
The statistical worst quarterback of the last 5 years.
Is better than Case Keenum.
Really?
Yeah, is better than Case Keenum.
He ranks 33rd in some categories for starting quarterbacks. That's how bad he is.
Wow, that's quite impressive.
I know. Shout out Flacco. I do think it will work in Denver. Did you talk about that on Friday?
Yeah, we did, and we absolutely slayed it because it will not work in Denver
No, it
at
won't
all.
really, will
and
it?
it'll be funny, and
It's great because, you know, they have a great offensive line. Oh, no, they don't. But they've got a great mobile quarterback. Oh, no, they don't.
and they've got all those fast, great... No, they traded all them away.
They've literally got nothing.
They've got a defence.
Shout out
yeah,
to...
yeah.
Well, yeah, they do. And on that note, let's create a great defence. Shout out to all our listeners. I know my mum and my little brother are watching, so I'll give you a wave. If you are listening and you want to play along at home, suggest any names that you might know.
Do you know what the funniest thing is? Just so I've just realised that I have not picked one Baltimore Raven, which is hilarious because
Neither have I.
They are literally the
I think we
best
should speak about that in
tandem.
a second, because I noticed that as well, and I think it's an interesting point. But if you want to get involved, play along at home, if you have a phone, 07851 101313, you can text in. If you want to send us a message via the website, ury.org.uk. I've also just realised someone I forgot to put in, so I will quickly make a note of that. But on the Baltimore note, I also realised, have you put any Baltimore players in?
I can't remember whether this is. Are they Baltimore?
Which one are you looking at?
That one.
No.
Khalil Mack.
I can't remember.
No, that city is like several hours west of Baltimore.
In which case, no, I haven't got any Baltimore Ravens.
I thought Baltimore was a lot more north than actually. Well, not like a lot more central than it actually is.
No,
it's very
quite
easty,
north.
isn't it?
Or is it easty?
Yeah, Maryland.
Good morning, Baltimore.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that the fact that there's no Ravens players, individual players in here, is testament to just how good a coach Jim Harbaugh. I always forget if it's Jim or John. Jim Harbaugh actually is, because the scheme that he's created. Same thing on offense, really. I don't think I've put any of the offense in, but it worked and it functioned. I mean, you have to listen in on Friday to find out if we do put any Ravens players in our offense. But I think their coaching is just so incredible that despite the fact they don't necessarily have players who jump off the page, I know they have players like Terrell Suggs and Darius Smith who have really good years. But just, I feel like you could plug most players into that scheme and it would be productive.
I disagree. I don't think it's about the scheme. I think they just work so well as a tandem that actually that's part of the Ravens culture is they've always been led by senior players. I mean, Ray Lewis only retired, about 7 years ago, but actually he'd played for a long time, and it seems that that's sort of like the Ravens way. You know, in the way that offenses can be led by the older quarterback lifting up the others. In a way, Baltimore's defense kind of works like that. And I think that's part of the reason I didn't pick a lot of their players is because actually they're a bit older. Yeah. And you wouldn't necessarily want them in now, but in terms of maybe building up a team where you have several leaders, I probably would then turn to Baltimore.
Very true. Speaks to that kind of longevity as well. That they've always managed to do that. Yeah, that's another important point as well, is that because we're starting a new team who will compete and hopefully win the Super Bowl for years to come, we'll also be picking our coaches, of course. There is a bias towards youth. Which is probably a fair bias because obviously if you pick someone who's 34, they might retire next year, whereas if you pick someone who's 23, then they also might retire next year because you don't last long in the NFL.
The NFL,
NFL stands for not for long.
Kaepernick.
Yeah.
Sorry.
You're on a social justice drive.
Do you know what? This whole thing with Kaepernick, we'll talk about it next week, but it's just really riled me. But we'll get over it. Good. It's fine.
I love talking about the Kaepernick situation.
Yeah.
Right, shall we kick things off?
Yeah.
We've divided the positions. I'll read them out. We've got left edge, defensive tackle, right edge. So that way we can cover for like 4-3 ends and also 3-4 outside linebackers.
We'll do all the edge rushers together.
Yeah. Linebackers, inside and outside, cornerbacks and safeties. So there's no distinction between like slot corners and normal corners. There's no distinction between free safeties and strong safeties because the very best, I feel, can play both.
What are you pointing at?
There's a spider literally.
Oh God!
Just
no, Colin. No. It's in front of you.
Right in the middle
that's
of our
mad.
studio.
Hello, we have the fourth member of NFLementary. Welcome, Sammy the Spider.
We're now the NFLementary Spiders.
Now I'm gonna give you the mic, Sammy. What do you think? Who should be our edge rusher? Oh, he's curled up in a ball. I don't think he enjoyed that.
No.
We'll get more feedback from Sammy later on in the show. I feel like you two will watch him like a hawk.
Well, I have no idea what Mark was pointing at.
Yeah, I don't know.
Someone outside. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
it's quite cool.
At the spider.
Are either of you scared of spiders?
Yes, terrified.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh no.
But he's closer to you than he is to me. So
I quite like spiders. I've never been scared of them. My dad is absolutely brick scared of spiders, I think.
I like Spider-Man.
Well, Spider and Man.
Oh, there you go, see.
It's like we're hashtag copyright Marvel, all that stuff. Right, should we just... How many edge defenders do you guys have? I have 6.
6.
Good, should we just divide them completely arbitrarily into left edge and right edge?
Just do edge rushers altogether.
Yeah, and then
all right.
I don't care who gets shuffled over, really.
Who wants to kick things? I'll kick some off with some consensus ones, I feel like we need Von Miller.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm joking.
Oh my God, Phew, you really scared me there. Where's Sammy gone?
We also need Von Miller with his glasses.
Of course, need to represent the specs. Spec present. And Khalil Mack.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good, right. A good
start.
Wait,
they're the only two consensus?
No. Well, they're the most consensus. I have some other ones that I feel like should be consensus.
Yeah, same.
Myles Garrett.
I have Myles Garrett, but I've kind of ordered them based on who I would pick first.
Yeah.
And actually, Von Miller is my 4th pick.
Really?
Only because I'm thinking, if we're thinking about youth, there's actually a couple of other guys that I would have before Miller because I think they can end up being as good as, if they're not already, based on the way Miller plays now. But Miller at his peak, Miller's number 1, but...
I think Miller could potentially... We've said this a lot of times on this show, and it's ironic that I have such a love for a man who ruined my franchise. But I do genuinely think, as Sammy the Spider makes his way back towards the table, I do genuinely think Miller is one of the best edge rushers of all time.
Yeah.
Genuinely, I think when you look at some of his highlights from...
Sammy's nearly at the bottom. You're getting a live update on Sam. Sammy's made it to the keyboard, and he's off. Ding, 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 ding. I hope he goes inside the keyboard and scares the next presenter. That would be funny. Sorry, we were talking about Von Miller.
Yeah.
Do you want me to get rid of the spider, Max?
Please, yes. Okay.
You keep talking about Von Miller.
But yeah, no, like if you look at some of the recap highlights from Super Bowl 50, just some of the moves that he's making, you'd actually think he's more of like a running back or a really versatile sort of receiver, like a Sammy Watkins, who's known for running like a running back but catching the ball like a receiver. But the way that he would move and he'd get to the quarterback to sack and whatnot, I'm not sure he's necessarily as capable of that anymore, but equally he's still got that element to him, which makes him such a... you don't have to, get rid of him completely,
No, I'll just do that.
Oh, okay, so Sammy is now dead, R.I.P.
It's just easy.
We also, by the way, welcome all vegan, vegetarian listeners.
Sammy's not dead, he's just gone to a better place.
What better place?
I just couldn't be bothered with the whole picking him up, throwing him out the window kind of spiel. I want to do this show. Well, that ends.
I'm not sure I can do this show now. I've been a bit rattled.
Come on, Mark. That's the end of a very brief segment called "What's Sammy doing?" And the answer is he's dead, so he's not doing anything.
Yeah, no.
Right. So Von Miller and Khalil Mack are in.
JJ Watt.
I have JJ Watt.
I do have JJ Watt.
I have him down as like
healthy.
the elder statesman who can like train up the
And also,
the
he'll
young
probably
guns.
be on and off every year from now until the end of time.
Yeah,
so.
but if you've got all these guys on your team, you're not too bothered, really, I guess, are you? Nice.
There's the dead spider.
The other guy that so Khalil Mack was my number 1 choice, but my number 2 choice was actually Joey Bosa.
Oh my god, I can't believe I forgot him. Yeah, I like Joey Bosa.
You forgot Joey Bosa?
I forgot him too. I saw him on there and I was like, oh yeah.
And by the way, if we were doing this next year, which I understand obviously we won't be, but if we were doing this next year, my starting pair of edge rushers would be the Bosa brothers, because that's just great.
It's too cool to turn down the
it's too
opportunity
cool,
for,
isn't it?
isn't
But
it? Yeah.
for now, I only have the one. But Joey Bosa's my number 2, and I think it's pretty obvious.
Yeah, I want
Like,
Bosa in there.
Yeah.
I know he's been hurt this year, but when he came back, the Chargers defense had a new
Presence.
a new presence, a new leash on life, so to speak. It just he makes an impact on a team that's so stacked, which I think says a lot.
Yeah.
And then the only other guy I've got, I kind of had him as 6. I think he's good, but I don't think he's as good as the other guys. Is DeMarcus Lawrence.
I
like DeMarcus Lawrence. I think he went a bit quiet towards the end of the year, but then I think so did the whole Cowboys team.
So someone like to throw in that mix. I've got 2 that I kind of just plugged on the end, so I kind of forgot about people. But someone who I'd like to
If you say
advocate-
Samson and Buchan, I'm walking out.
No,
Good.
Bradley Chubb.
Interesting.
Fresh rookie, learned under Von Miller for a year.
Can continue to learn under Von Miller.
Continue to
on
learn
the
under
Narwhals.
Von Miller. I think that he's an exciting prospect. So he's very fresh, and as a rookie, that's kind of what you want. And he's got all this experience he can learn behind. So yeah, I would propose him as one of the 6.
Throw another name into the mix that hasn't been mentioned yet. Daniil Hunter from the Vikings.
I didn't put him down because I don't want to fall into the trap of being, what's the phrase?
Or like recency bias.
Yeah, I don't want to.
He's quite young though.
He is.
He's learned.
But
under,
I don't even know if
what's
he's the best
Everson
defensive
Griffin?
end on his team.
Yeah, but he's the best young defensive end on his team.
That's nice and everything, but see, for me, I've kind of that's where I fit Myles Garrett in, because he is the young prospect. And if I were to compare Garrett to say Hunter or Bradley Chubb, Garrett just naturally is better, because I think you look at Garrett, he doesn't seem to be on 100%. Yeah, he always seems to be there, and it's one of those things that I think if anyone can light the right fire underneath him.
Would you rather have Hunter or DeMarcus Lawrence? Are we a consensus on JJ Watt and Myles Garrett then?
Yeah, JJ Watt was
and Bosa?
Both
Okay.
Bosa, sorry. So currently we've got Miller, Mack, Watt, Garrett, and Bosa.
Okay, so we're looking for the 6th guy.
Yeah, and currently, do you have any other names that haven't been mentioned other than Chubb?
I had Chris and Chandler Jones, but they can go away.
I'm not opposed to either
Chandler
of those
Jones
2
is
names, to be
a
honest.
Good shout as well. I was thinking Chandler Jones. So basically, the choices we've got, it's kind of like a young, but not rookie kind of player. So Daniil Hunter, DeMarcus Lawrence. Well, I guess Chandler Jones is significantly older.
Chubb is
a rookie, yeah.
rookie.
Bradley Chubb, Chris Jones.
And I think if you've got 4 experienced linemen or 4 experienced edge rushers having 2 fresh
Young
talents,
tearaways.
will mean that you have 2 experienced edge rushers going forwards.
See, I put Lawrence down because when he's on,
he's
literally
so unstoppable.
good, and I feel like he gets forgotten because you've got these other big names, like the names that have been around for a while, and then the Bosas of the world who were just so good.
If you also look at that Cowboys D-line, how they played this year compared to the actual names on the D-line, he did a hell of a lot, even though he might not have got the sacks he got last year.
Yeah.
But then equally,
but
Chandler
he would
Jones
have done had he not dropped off, which is the weird thing. Like, I understand him dropping off is part of that, but equally, he was on pace for a while, so his
Chandler
impact
Jones
went
has
good.
been doing it year in, year out for a long time
Yeah.
now.
But then I do like the Hunter pick, because I think he's
Young and exciting.
and
So it's Chubb.
and I think
Lawrence. It's a tricky one, isn't it? I think this is where like the meat of the Narwhals is going to come from, because there are always players that we're all going to agree on, like your Von Millers, your Khalil Macks, your Aaron Donald. I'm sure when we get to defensive tackle.
Oh, I haven't even got him on my top 4.
But when we really get down to it, it's these kind of players that are going to make or break the team.
Defensive Player of the Year doesn't make defensive team.
If I had to,
Imagine.
I think the way that I would look at it then is in 10 years' time, who will have had a better career? I would then probably go Bradley Chubb.
What are you going for?
I'm going to stick with my guns and go Bradley Chubb.
Bradley Chubb. I will bow to the superior authority. We've got a Chubb on our team. Congratulations. So our 6 edge rushers: Von Miller, Khalil Mack, JJ Watt, Bradley Chubb, Myles Garrett and Joey Bosa. I will bracket.
Just out of interest, does Bradley Chubb line up on... So if you've got the D-line looking at the quarterback on the right, because Von Miller's on the left?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it depends if Von Miller's on the field
depend on the
at the same
packages
time.
and stuff.
Yeah.
But
we could do what the Eagles did and throw 3 defensive ends in a 4-man lineup.
Yeah.
Which
Quite a
worked
lot of
out
teams
pretty
are doing
well.
that,
Yeah, I
Just
think
an
it's actually
extra
quite a good
edge rushing
idea.
presence, yeah. Right, moving on to defensive tackle then. Oh, actually, let's give a brief congratulations to all the people who made our team. The children are happy. Isn't that delightful? Defensive tackle, 2 names that need to be included in my humble opinion are, of course, Aaron Donald and Fletcher Cox.
Yep.
Yeah, they're in
Anyone
my
gonna argue
first
with
too.
that? Perfect.
The funny thing about Cox, by the way, is actually he, in an era without Donald, would be the obvious number 1.
Yeah.
But with Donald, he becomes the obvious number 2 because there's no one close to either of them.
Yeah.
And so, like, Cox can do things that no one else can do except Donald, who no one else can match.
Yeah.
It's a weird kind of thing like that. But those 2 together...
Donald is so just incredibly productive and fluid that it kind of, even though, it's just like... It's like the ugly girl effect. Like if you see a group of girls or group of people, and one of them is significantly less attractive than all the others, it makes all the others look good. Or one of them is significantly more attractive, even though they're not that great. Like just because Donald is so great, it makes Fletcher Cox look slightly worse.
But the thing with those 2 as well is you can pick a handful of games where their singular presence makes such a difference on a game.
So. I never ever will accept anyone listing Fletcher Cox as anything less than the second best defensive tackle since the Panthers-Philly game, not from last year, the year before, where it was his first game back from injury and just absolutely terrorised Cam Newton all night long.
And I believe that had he been able to play the whole Saints game in the playoffs, Philadelphia would have won.
Oh, 100%.
Because
he was having such an impact.
Back off that injury, it was like that again.
Suddenly Drew Brees didn't have time to throw the ball anymore.
Yeah.
Now it becomes an argument for the next 2. What names are we thinking?
Missed 2 names off, only because they're slightly older.
Yeah.
But it depends how you'd want to build a team.
I've got one... I think Donald's 27, Cox is what... Is he pushing 30? He's like 28 or 29, I think.
It's about 28, I think.
Then I've got one name who is a similar age, like 27, I think, and then one 23-year-old.
Oh, okay. I missed off Gerald McCoy, despite the fact that I think he is so good. And I also missed off Ndamukong Suh, despite the fact that I think he's so good. They both came out the same draft class. They've always been compared. If they're on your team, you're not missing
Doing
out
badly.
on anything.
Yeah.
Like,
I've got both of them on mine.
But
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I
Is that your
actually
four?
think that I would rather take Geno Atkins, who is almost the same age.
A little bit older?
I think I'm not sure. But there's not much you can say about the Bengals that's actually good. I mean, I don't give the Bengals a whole lot of love at all. But Geno Atkins has been a constant for so many years. And it's kind of one of those things that, unlike Donald or Cox, who come along and instantly make an impact, you kind of sit back and realise one day, you know what, we talk about Geno Atkins a lot. Like, Geno Atkins plays well a lot, but he doesn't seem to get the credit he deserves at all. And he's that sort of main staple on that defense that's really stabilized that defensive front seven for the Bengals.
Yeah.
And is part of the reason why that front seven have been so consistent on a team that's been wildly inconsistent. So I kind of had him there because I think amongst all the youth, that's probably the older guy I would put in over a McCoy or a Suh.
Yeah.
And then my other two picks then come back down in age.
Are we having 5 defensive tackles?
Well, I pick 5 because I'm happy for
Yeah, why not? Let's go
names and
crazy.
whatnot.
I'll tell you who my slightly older gentleman is then.
Mm-hmm.
Kawan Short from the Panthers.
I originally had him on my list, and then I bumped him off.
I think similar to... I think he's been really productive over his career because he's had Starla Tuile next to him basically the entire time. And then obviously we lost Star this year and we gained Dontari Poe, who in theory is an upgrade. But actually, this year has proved even more to me the value of Kawan Short because he's now being consistently double teamed because the Panthers have nothing else on that D-line. Like, really, we have Mario Addison, who's 31 years old and was undrafted and has kind of, like, fair play to him, has created a career as a right end or left end, whatever. But really is kind of just someone you bring on for rotation and for depth, not someone who should be starting. And then Julius Peppers, who's washed up, and then Dontari Poe, who's been a disappointment, and then Wes Horton. Like, I'm not even being funny. Have you ever heard the name Wes Horton?
Wes Horn?
Horton. Oh, where is Horton?
Yeah, Wes Horn.
I don't know, but he's not on the field. So the fact that he was able to consistently get pressure and basically make sacks for other players this year, and obviously I watched him a lot given that I watched the Panthers every week, that to me was enough to cement him as my number 3 choice. And then obviously I thought we need a bit of youth in here. We're all kind of pushing 30 with the defence tackles. I feel like they probably don't mature enough necessarily to be great until they're a couple more years down the line. Probably they need the NFL diet and they need to put on the pounds and stuff.
That's why defences don't last very long.
Yeah.
I think.
Fun fact: you reach your athletic peak at about 18. You reach your strength peak about 30.
Yeah.
So
it makes sense then,
offensive
really.
lineman and defensive.
And I think that's why Donald's such a monster, because
tackles.
he's still in that athletic peak.
Yeah.
And he's already reached his strength peak.
Yeah.
Where he can just push 2 men over.
Yeah. I've gone for Jonathan Allen from the Redskins.
I like that. I also didn't put him on, and I kind of wish that I put him on over my 5th pick, which was Jarrell Casey.
Yeah.
Because as much as I like Casey, I also really like Allen.
Allen, I think, is just a really, really good player. And that Redskins front for the first at least kind of 10 weeks of the season was scary and was impossible to run on. And was consistently getting pressure.
Though, I don't think it's their fault that they dropped off. I think it's the fact that the offense fell apart.
Yeah.
I don't blame them.
And they were also being helped by the fact that Peterson was obviously having his renaissance and they were running the ball all the time, which meant they had a lot of breaks off the field, which meant they could stay fresh, etc., etc. But what emerges from that is the fact that Jonathan Allen, as a defensive tackle, was a great, great player already at the age of 23. So I just want him in the team, basically, as our young guy.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I have one more guy.
Yep.
From Chicago, Akeem Hicks, who I don't think gets enough discussion because there's so many parts on that Bears defense. Obviously, Mac draws a lot of attention now, and their defensive backs have been fantastic this year.
Yep.
Roquan Smith is, I think, the next generation of linebacker because he's built in a different kind of way, but
quick, speedy, kind of like a cornerback.
Crazy. But I like Hicks a lot. The Bears are pretty good this year on stopping the run. And I think anyone coming from Chicago on a defensive side, I would argue
comes with legitimacy. Yeah.
So I had him there too. Although I am willing to include Allen over him if need be.
Okay, so we've got the consensus. We've got Donald and Cox, and then we need to pick 3 from Short, Allen, McCoy, Sue, and
Hicks.
And Casey.
So yeah, we can throw Casey out the window. I don't mind. I
love Casey, great player. And really kind of does the dirty work for that Titans team, but he's just not the star value.
Yeah. So we need to pick how many? Sorry,
we can have 3 at most. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Allen, I think.
Jonathan Allen's one.
Lovely. So then it's Kawan Short, Geno Atkins, Gerald McCoy, and Donkey Kong Sue, and Casey. But not Casey.
Hicks.
And Hicks. Yeah, that's one. 2 of them. I obviously am going to push forward the Kawan Short agenda.
I'll push for McCoy then.
Yeah, I think I'll drop Sue because I think that
Poor Sue.
when Sue's on it...
Susie. And document Susie.
When Sue's on it, she's...
Susanna.
Great. No, when Sue's on it, he is on fire, but when he's not, he's just a bit
lazy.
Meh. Yeah.
I feel like Sue has gotten by in the NFL with his incredible talent, but had he, and obviously it's funny that I say this because I'm not anywhere near the kind of level of physical prowess as he is, but at the same time I feel like he hasn't maximised what that talent could achieve him if he had been more dedicated.
An argument you just take him for playoffs where he just seems to actually become a different player. But other than that, I think someone like Gerald McCoy would be a better pick over him.
McCoy would be like our elder statesman, wouldn't he? Like teaching the defensive tackles how it works. And
30 years old. He's not
face of the franchise.
Yeah. Definitely not done. You've definitely got 5 years left.
And you're going to get dedication out of him because he could have easily gone anywhere else.
Yeah.
And he stuck
Loyalty.
around. Yeah.
Underrated quality.
Yeah.
Shall we have McCoy then?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's 4,
so
isn't
that's
it?
4. So then we need one more out of Atkins.
Hicks and Short.
Yeah. Hicks is 29. I'll look up the ages of Kawan Short.
And pick whoever's the youngest.
Well, Kawan Short's 30, and Hicks is 29, and was it Atkins?
Yeah.
Is also 30. So we're looking at 3 slightly older people here.
For me, I think the obvious choice is Geno Atkins then, because I think Kawan Short, I've only really heard his name the last 2 years. But Geno Atkins has been someone who, for years now, has been producing for a team that has not produced overall. In their down years, he's still there. In their up years, he's part of the reason they're up.
What do you think, Mark?
What do I think? I don't really think much. Yeah. Let's have a Bengals player, you know?
Oh, come on. That should be a negative point against Atkins. Well,
Yeah, it really is.
I'm sorry, Kawan, but we've gone for Geno Atkins instead, apparently. So to recap, our defensive tackle situation is Aaron Donald, Fletcher Cox, Geno Atkins, Gerald McCoy, and Jonathan Allen. And the children are happy about it. Right, moving forward, linebackers, one of my favourite position groups. I'm going to give you 5 names. No, I'm going to give you 4 names, and you're going to agree with all of them, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Luke Kuechly,
Yep.
Bobby Wagner,
Yep.
Darius Leonard, and Roquan Smith.
No.
I agreed with 3 of them.
Yeah, I agree with 3.
You don't want Roquan Smith in there?
No.
No.
What?
Because there's 2 younger guys that are better than Roquan Smith.
I don't think I went for younger guys, but...
Are we agreed on Kuechly and Wagner at least? I like
and Leonard.
It's almost not worth talking about them because they're just so
those...
consensus
And
the
Leonard
best.
as well, those 3.
Yeah. Mark picked DeMarcus Ware because he just wants Colin to cry.
That would make me cry. Have you actually picked DeMarcus
No.
Ware? I was gonna say.
No, I've picked Dante Hightower and TJ Watt.
I've got TJ Watt. I love
Watt.
TJ Watt.
I think he's more of a rusher though. Is he not?
He's
Maybe,
both.
but then I would happily have him.
He can play coverage and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think he's a bit more versatile than that. But the other guy I got was, I think, the best rookie linebacker outside of Darius Leonard this year. Leighton Van Der Esch.
I did think about him. I just like Roquan Smith more.
I know, but the way that Van Der Esch kind of took control halfway through the season, he's like, you know what? I'm not going to just play like a rookie anymore.
Yeah.
I'm going to play like I'm a
Like
starting
everyone says
linebacker
Sean
for
Lee
the
plays.
Dallas Cowboys because Sean Lee can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And Leighton Van Der Esch took control.
Sean Lee was in the ice bath
Yeah.
all season.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Luke Kuechly, Bobby Wagner, having Darius Leonard on the outside, it's stuff
Imagine
that wet
it
dreams
would
are made
literally
of,
like
but
make me cry.
it genuinely
I
would.
love linebackers so
It
much.
genuinely
man.
would. Can you imagine, right? Just
Imagine you wouldn't be able to throw anywhere. Patrick Mahomes would like look one way and like chuck it the
Yeah,
other,
but if
and
you-
then they'll be there.
if you had a 3-4 with Fletcher Cox and Donald up front,
Oh,
and then you had
God.
behind him was Bobby Wagner and Luke
God.
Kuechly,
And Von Miller off the edge, Khalil
and
Mack.
Khalil Mack, and Darius Leonard thrown in there as well. It's like, what?
This is what the Pro Bowl should be like.
Yeah, this should be the kind of excitement
Yeah,
that people feel over
yeah.
the Pro Bowl, and they just don't because it's stupid and Mitchell Trubisky plays in it.
So yeah, I've got the same first 3 you do, and then I've got TJ Watt like Mark does,
Yeah.
and then I have Leighton Van Der Esch. I am happy for Roquan Smith to go in there. Like I just said, I think he's very exciting, and I think he's going to be great. I just feel like Van Der Esch had a slightly better year, and because of that, I put Van Der Esch over
Yeah.
him.
Did you have any others?
Mine was Dante Hightower, who
Oh, yeah.
I think has just been around for a long time and shown to still be dominant.
Well,
One
in
guy
the Super Bowl.
I didn't put in
Yeah,
because I
especially in
don't
the Super Bowl.
like to force Buccaneer players down your throat. But if there's one group of players on my team that are actually pretty
Yeah,
good,
true, it's your
outside the
linebackers.
receivers, it's the linebackers. And Quan Alexander, when he's
Interesting. I thought you were
healthy,
gonna go,
is so... Levante David's great, aging. Quan
True.
Alexander, a lot younger,
I do think Levante David doesn't get the respect.
already
he should
captain
get.
for his team. So good, so fast, so mobile. If anything, he's probably more suited as a non-pass rusher outside linebacker.
Yeah.
But right now we feature him in the middle, and I'm fine with that because Kendall Beckwith's pretty good, and Levante David's obviously there.
Great, yeah.
Maybe when David goes, they'll shove him outside. I don't know. But I'll put Quan Alexander out there just to show some love for the fact that actually he's a very solid player. And when he's on the field, he does make a difference.
The other names I had, I flip-flopped between these two for ages, trying to pick which one I liked more. In the end, I went for Miles Jack of the Jags, and I took him over. Can you tell who I took him over? Ravens player, CJ Mosley. Those were the two names I had kind of thinking in my head, and in the end, I went for Jack. Mosley slightly older. Miles Jack, I think, is a great player, great young player. The linebacker group is so strong. Like,
Yeah.
defensive tackle, we ended up picking a bunch of 30-year-olds.
The funny thing as well is a lot of the best linebackers come from the NFC.
Yeah.
Um,
Which probably said something about the style of play, I guess. All the best running backs come from the NFC.
yeah. Funny that, isn't it?
Maybe there's some kind of analysis to be done there. Might change my dissertation real quick. I won't.
Related to Law Howe?
Is it law to have a linebacker? Discuss.
Nice. Not if you're Chargers, apparently. You just
Yeah,
shove in
no.
all your defensive backs and then lose.
Right, so Kuechly, Wagner, Leonard accepted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we need to pick two of Roquan Smith,
Well, we both agree on TJ Watt. Yeah?
Van Der Esch,
I'd like TJ Watt. there.
TJ Watt.
TJ Watt. So TJ Watt's in there because
Well, then that makes things even worse. That means we've got both the Watt brothers, so Derek Watt will definitively be picked as our starting fullback because I want the trio.
Yeah.
Also, it's fullback, so who cares? You could literally put anyone in there. Why don't we pick Kawan Short as our fullback?
Fair.
Old Dontari Poe would be better there than he would be at defensive tackle. All right, so
Andy
we need
Reid.
to pick one of Roquan Smith, Miles Jack, CJ Mosley, Quan Alexander, and
Van Der
Dante
Esch.
Hightower and Van Der Esch. Oh my god!
Right. Hightower
Let's start by ruling
Yeah,
out players.
can be
Yeah.
ruled out, I think.
I would rule out Hightower.
I
I think
like
he
him,
shows
but-
up at certain times, but when Belichick is your coach,
I'm happy to drop Alexander and Van Der Esch, given the fact that I think Smith will end up being better and CJ Mosley is just too good to compare. The
Yeah.
argument there is, would you rather go for experience or would you rather go for youth?
Yeah.
so we've only got one. Well, TJ Watt's quite young as well, isn't he?
And Darius Leonard.
CJ Mosley is really good.
Darius Leonard is very young.
So
I'd
basically-
arguably go with Mosley over Smith, to
Yeah.
be honest.
What about Miles Jack?
So ironically, we will end up having a Raven. But
Yeah, I know.
Um,
so that big
yeah.
chat at the beginning. We don't have any Ravens.
Yeah.
Well, we do.
yeah,
CJ Mosley.
Yeah. Let's
Yeah.
go.
Wow, what a linebacking core. It's the stuff of dreams. I'm going to fall asleep dreaming about this tonight. Luke Kuechly, Bobby Wagner, Darius Leonard, TJ Watt, and CJ Mosley. Roquan, you're going to probably become our rival now because we didn't choose you. But the children are happy. They enjoy it. Now, moving on to cornerback. Wow. This is this is a good team, can I just say?
It
For
is.
those of you listening at home, this is a good team. I haven't seen if anyone's messaged in, actually. No one has. Great. If you're listening along on YouTube, comment below what you would choose as your team, and we will tell you why you're wrong. Right, cornerback.
So I'm going to put forward three that I think you'll like, even if you don't agree with.
Okay,
Patrick Peterson.
that was the person I forgot at the beginning of the episode,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh my god.
he's my number one choice.
Yep. He's also my
Richard
number one
Sherman.
choice. Interesting.
He
So-
fell off.
And Denzel Ward.
Also
Okay,
interesting.
So the thing with Sherman is, in my mind, I had to pick either Sherman or Peterson, and I picked Peterson because I think he's healthier.
I would definitely pick Peterson over Sherman every time.
But I like the Sherman pick.
I like the Sherman pick as
Um,
well.
So
I
that's
might
what I said.
adopt
I
it.
figured you liked it, even if you don't
love
necessarily
Richard
agree
I
Sherman.
with
also
it.
like Denzel Ward. I have Denzel Ward because I think he's going to be really good.
Yeah.
And I remember at a time when the Browns picked Ward, even on the night, everyone was saying, "What? Chubb's on the board. What are you doing?" But actually, I think it worked out pretty well
It's like the
because now
Jalen
you
Ramsey
have,
effect, isn't it?
you have a really good cornerback. You already have Myles Garrett. Okay,
Yeah.
you could have had Bradley Chubb, great, but one of their biggest problems was defensive backs.
Yeah.
And Ward came in and he stepped up. Was it 1 or 2 interceptions in his first game against the Steelers? And then going forward, he was just pretty dominant. So,
and then one in the second week as well.
so he's not necessarily the shutdown corner, but he's a
He's a
athletic
playmaker.
corner. Yeah, a bit of a ball hawk, but a bit more aggressive than just that. Yeah.
Some other names I had. I'll just run you through my list. So I had Patrick Peterson, Dante Jackson from the Carolina Panthers, our rookie
I'm
cornerback.
sensing a theme with yours, Colin.
Well, obviously I affiliate with the Carolina Panthers for certain reasons, but I haven't flooded with Panthers players because our defense isn't that great.
Yeah.
But there are some I think worth considering. Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah, I kind of had a. I'll discuss it. Yeah. I'll discuss what I was going to say in a minute.
I've basically got an old man line and Denzel Ward, so I've also got Aqib Talib. I only went for 4. I've rather
Interesting.
5.
Darius Slay, I've got in there from the Lions.
Okay.
Really like him. Big play Slay. And Chidobe Awuzie
Oh, I like
from
that.
the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I like that.
Firstly, incredible name. Secondly, incredible player.
Very well pronounced, Colin.
Thank you very much.
How long were you practicing it last night?
Do you know what? I actually pride myself on pronouncing players' names that are complicated. It's one of my core talents. NFL Network, if you're listening, I'll make a great commentator, I think.
So,
Just if you wanted me to say the names instead of Chris Collinsworth.
yeah.
Chidobe.
Here's a guy. Yeah. Yeah.
He malfunctions. Here's a guy. Guy.
Jalen Ramsey. I
Deliberately didn't choose him.
I'm not being funny. You picked Beckham last year.
Yeah, because
you
Beckham's
said-
worth it.
Jalen Ramsey is not.
No,
I think he's proven this year that no.
he's a
What?
bum. Jalen Ramsey is a bum. I'm joking. He's not a bum, but he's not as good as some of the other young cornerbacks
None
I
of them
mentioned.
were that good this year. Why is Miles Jack in consideration if Jalen Ramsey is not?
Because I like Miles Jack. He's not a cocky little so-and-so.
Oh, but you have Beckham because of a team needs
Beckham is
attitude.
great.
We haven't decided
it needs
our
some
wide receivers
personality.
yet.
No, but last year I remember distinctly having an argument because you said that you would have.
I
Beckham on
said
team
you want a
purely
team
for
of boring
attitude.
yes men, and I said I want some players in that locker room who spice things up. What I do not want is some dweeb who thinks Blake Bortles is a good quarterback.
He doesn't. That's why
Well, he
they
did at the
had.
beginning of the season.
No, they did not. They had a massive rage in the locker room where no one was allowed in, and it boiled down to the fact that Jalen Ramsey and the rest of the team did not like their quarterback.
And my cornerbacks, I get my personality from Dante Jackson, who is a very outspoken individual.
Jackson isn't going in the team. The other guy I got was Kyle Fuller in Chicago.
Very good shout. I considered him. Led
and
the
then-
league in passes defense this year.
And then I was also thinking of the Patriots and thinking of Jason McCoy as well as Stephon Gilmore.
Interesting.
Um,
Honestly, almost I would agree with you on the basis of that one single play from the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Look, I think they are really good players who step it up in big games. That's not the worst trait to have because at the end of the day, they're still the sort of quality players that will help you win games. I mean, you could pick the whole Patriots secondary, to be honest. It's just the problem is it's not the youngest.
No. Or the cheapest.
So if
But I
you
guess
want...
we don't have salary cap. So.
No. So it depends exactly the kind of balance that you want. I wouldn't pick Talib because I think he's a little too old, though he's still really good. That's why I would have Peterson, who's still a bit younger. He's about 28, 29.
Yeah.
He's still got
player,
plenty of years left if he wants. And that's kind of who I'd slot in there.
Okay, so is there anyone that we are consensus on that we want? So we've got Patrick Peterson in there.
And we've got Denzel Ward.
Are we consensus on Denzel Ward?
I like Denzel Ward.
Okay, I will accept. I had him written down. I will rule out Dante Jackson if we're having Denzel Ward because we don't need 2 rookie cornerbacks.
I do like Dante Jackson, though.
He'll be a good player.
Yeah, he really stepped up this year.
Yeah, particularly the first half of the year, and then he got injured a bit and stepped back. And I think the difference between him and Ward was with Ward, when Ward wasn't making plays, you didn't notice him because he was just doing his job and was really good in coverage. When Jackson wasn't making plays, you noticed him at times because of him making silly mistakes and kind of having brain farts or not carrying around deep and things like that.
Marcus Peters.
Oh dear. Yeah, Marcus Peters, good shout.
No, oh my gosh, no.
Right, so what have we
I
got?
would rather
Stephon
pick
Gilmore,
myself
Darius Slay, Chidobe Awuzie, Jalen Ramsey, Richard Sherman.
I'd rule out Sherman.
Too old.
Slightly, yeah.
Honourable mention to Richard Sherman.
Imagine though having Patrick Peterson on one side and Richard Sherman on the other.
It's like
I'd cry.
the ultimate shutdown, isn't it? Like, what do you do?
I'm going to argue for Sherman. Why not? I think we should have Sherman. I really do.
Well,
and also,
screw it. Let's bring back Cam Chancellor.
interesting you should say that.
Oh God.
But think about like he could train that secondary up.
But okay, so but now we're changing.
Are we having 5
the goalposts on this?
I want Sherman. I'll move the
because
goalposts.
otherwise, I would pick Brady every day at quarterback. For now.
You're not going to pick Brady as your quarterback next year?
No, because I thought we were picking young players.
Well, it's not just young, it's both.
You can bias against, like it's a bias towards young players.
I mean, definitely.
Well,
Brady
then fine. Then Akeem Talib's my number one.
Oh,
interesting.
so are we
If
going
we're gonna do it like that, then Akeem Talib's
Would you
back in
rather
the
have
conversation.
Akeem Talib or Richard Sherman then? And this, ladies and gentlemen, is how we fill out the next 18 minutes of the show, even though we've only got one position group left. I would rather have Sherman than Talib. Any day of the
Right,
week.
so the problem that you get with both is they have mouths that can't stop.
But Sherman's mouth is slightly better at stopping.
Stop. But Akeem Talib doesn't have a history of Achilles tendon injuries that might come back.
Sherman was incredibly consistent before last year.
So is Talib.
True. But Talib is angry. Sherman
Talib has been on 2
determined.
Super Bowl winning teams.
Sherman's been on Super Bowl winning team.
Yeah.
One of them. That makes him better because
And
he's loyal.
Talib's been to a Super Bowl with another team.
Sherman is his own agent, so we don't have to deal with another agent when we sign him. No, there's a good
Amazing.
argument.
Well, in which case,
Okay, let's make
Can we
little
not
groups
have
of people.
Patrick Peterson, Akeem Talib, Richard Sherman rotating, and then Nickel Roby Coleman as our nickel corner.
Nickel corner.
Yeah,
Let's go.
throwing people into the stands and the way Marcus Peters
This
throws
is like a
flags in the
throwback
stands.
to the top 100 stuff we did last summer. That's on our YouTube if you're interested. The NFLementary Top 100.
Mhm.
Are all the episodes now on there?
No. If you want to know who's in the top 30, make it up yourself because we lost the footage.
Did we?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Have we lost the audio as well?
No, but I just couldn't be bothered to resurrect it 6 months afterwards. If people want me to put it up, I will put it up. I might put it up this summer, even though it's a year old. So I probably won't put it up this summer. But yeah, if people are interested, I can release it. Let's group up Richard Sherman, Akeem Talib, and Stephon Gilmore as our slightly older gentlemen.
Mm-hmm.
Out of those 3, I go Gilmore, Sherman, Talib.
What? Gilmore is the obvious 3 there.
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah, I would.
I think he's played incredibly this year, though.
he has, but Talib is a Hall of Famer, and so Sherman.
I think Gilmore.
I don't think Gilmore
be,
is.
yeah.
I think Gilmore.
I think he's probably a bit
has-
younger.
So the question after the Super Bowl was, is Edelman a Hall of Famer?
Yeah.
Well, I can think of wide receivers previously on the Patriots team that never won a Super Bowl, but were just so much better than Edelman. So what makes Edelman the Hall of Famer? Wes Welker is unbelievable. I don't think he'll make the Hall of Fame.
No.
In
I
the same
agree.
way that I think Stephon Gilmore had unbelievable periods like Edelman has.
Gilmore's only
but
2 years younger than Sherman.
I don't think he'll be in the Hall of Fame.
Talib is significantly older. So Talib's 33, Sherman's 30, and Gilmore's 28. This is a tricky decision. It's weird that cornerback has become the most complicated because honestly, it's one of the positions I would care least about, apart from Patrick Peterson.
Do you go Sherman then? 'Cause he's got the 3 years under Talib.
I would pick Sherman over Talib, personally. Right, let's put a pin in this conversation. And let's look at some other players. So Darius Slade, Chidobe Awuzie, Jalen Ramsey. Let's look at those 3.
Right, I'm sorry, but Ramsey is
the consensus number 1 out of those 3, I would say. Awuzie.
But I
don't know. I'd probably take Slay over Awuzie.
I think I would only because I know what I get with Slay over Awuzie. We haven't seen
Yeah.
a lot of him yet.
Slay has been
If I took a
consistently a
risk,
bright
though,
spark on that
I think
rubbish
Jalen
Lions
Ramsey
defense.
is a risk.
Why?
Oh, here he comes, boring Mark.
We can't have
Why?
any personality in the locker
He's
room.
basically ripped apart the Jags defense
He will-
single-handedly.
How has he?
He will make the players
what
argue.
did he do to that Jags defense?
By just causing problems in the locker room.
What, by calling out his quarterback like the rest of them did?
I don't think Jalen Ramsey was a problem in the. Do you know what? I'm rescinding my
Really,
Jalen
you
Ramsey
don't think
comments.
Jalen Ramsey was
Jalen
a
Ramsey
problem?
came
No.
out and said things he shouldn't have said, don't get me wrong, and they
I
got
liked
torched for
that
that.
though.
Fine.
I really liked that.
But that is an attitude I think more players should have. They shouldn't be sat there like, oh, I respect this guy, I respect that guy. Is he not right about Ben Roethlisberger?
Yeah.
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 And he picked
Imagine-
him off in the end zone.
Imagine Jalen Ramsey and Odell going at each other in practice. Now that is something I want to see as a coach, and I don't care if they argue. I'm not getting involved. They can kill each other, and then
If he has a coach
might hype up the rest of the team.
that has the ability to control that, like,
only
I
coach-
don't know, a Wade Phillips who has the ability to control Aqib Talib and Marcus Peters on the same damn team, which is just impossible because their previous coaches couldn't do it. And those two players were also considered problem causers. That's why they shipped Peters. And Sue in Miami was the only personality they had. Who
Yeah.
plays for Miami?
Uh,
Yeah, there you go. See, right, it doesn't matter. People still think Dan
Ryan
Marino plays for,
Tannehill.
for Miami, okay? The point is I am willing to take that caliber player
I'm
if you
having
have
Ramsey.
a
Let's do
caliber
it.
coach that is able to control it.
Jalen Ramsey's in.
Oh yeah, we've also got to do defensive coordinator.
Got safety and coordinator left. Right, let's wrap up cornerback. So the names we've got left, we've got 1, 2, 3 in there. Peterson, Ramsey, and Ward. So should we say 5 or 6?
5.
5, okay.
So we can take two more.
2 more. Gilmore, Awuzie, Sherman, Talib, Dante Jackson.
I think
Cal.
I think
Sherman.
Sherman. Yeah.
Sherman.
Yeah.
Wicked. Hello, Richard.
Rashad.
Rashad Sherman. So that means
Sir
Awuzie,
Rashad.
Slay, or Gilmore. Out of those 3.
Out of those 3, I'd pick Gilmore.
Interesting. I was going to say
Because
Slay.
you've excluded Talib.
Oh, yeah, sorry. And Talib. Do we have enough of you? I guess we've got Ramsey and Ward. What do you think, Mark? You can have the deciding vote. Talib
Deciding
or
vote.
Gilmore?
Oh, of those two, definitely Talib.
Well, there we go. Aqib Talib, you're in the team.
I would have been tempted if you'd have put your flag in Slay. I would have been tempted to go with him, but because you went with Gilmore,
Interesting. I take Talib over Slay, I think, personally. So our quarterback grouping is Patrick Peterson, Jalen Ramsey, Richard Sherman, Aqib Talib, and Denzel Ward.
I mean, it's pretty good.
It's not bad, is
No.
it? It's pretty not bad.
I mean, Darius Slay might be invited to practice, you know.
Yeah, you can train with us, but you
Yeah.
cannot play with us.
Yeah.
Safety, Eric Reed.
No.
Why not? Why not?
I-
Let's get a guy on our team who stands up for what he believes in. Let's get the whole team kneeling for the national anthem.
Hey, don't get me wrong. I like that, and I was going to bring this up next week. But all I'm going to say is, if Carolina want to prove a point,
Yeah,
sign
sign
Kaepernick.
Kaepernick. I'd love
Sign
them to
him.
do it.
Sign him. Keep Cam out for a year. Sign him. Prove a point to the rest of the league that you can be
We're
a
the
franchise
team.
that takes
Yeah,
them forward.
We're the team.
But Eric Reed doesn't make our team.
No, I feel like
Because we have people standing for our anthem. Joking. I don't care. our national football team don't even know the anthem, so there's no point them standing up. I've gone for 4 pretty young guys.
yeah.
I love me some Harrison Smith. I always have. I always will. I've gone
that's
with
such a good shout.
I've gone with Derwin James because he has
Yeah.
been a revelation on the team
did you
that was
forget
very
Harrison
strong.
Smith?
I didn't forget him.
I've gone with Eddie Jackson in
Confusion
Chicago,
team.
who I
Yeah.
think outside
Eddie
of Khalil
Jackson,
Mack
yeah.
could be their team MVP. He was
Yeah,
just so good.
yeah.
And then I've gone Jamal Adams because
Yeah.
Jamal Adams is literally the only thing to come out of New York. So
Yeah.
I did Harrison Smith, Derwin James, Eddie Jackson, and I went with Kevin Byard.
No. I cannot ever accept you slandering my boy Jamal Adams like that by putting Kevin Byard over him. In fairness, I did think about Byard as well. But it's Jamal Adams, man. Like, come on. The only
Are
person
we
I
only
would
going
say...
for 4, not 5?
I think so. Oh, actually, well,
So we've
no,
gone for
it makes
5
sense to go for 5.
cornerbacks.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Earl Thomas.
yeah, you know, I had him down
That
and
was
I thought
my-
he has a broken leg, but
But when he comes back,
Yeah.
he's Earl Thomas.
the only thing that kind of diminishes a bit of his stock is the fact that the Seahawks were actually a pretty good defensive team after
Yeah, who
he
did
left.
they get to replace? Was it someone Trey Flowers or something like that? I know there's a Flowers
Yeah.
on New England, but there's also
It's not Eric, because Eric is the one that sucks, I think.
yeah, the
Having said that,
wheelie bomber
though,
right tackle.
Pete Carroll, I think, can be sort of compared to Belichick in the sense that he has the ability to create a scheme that suits his players and then mold them.
Allows the players to play.
And so I don't think it diminishes it too much. I'm happy for Earl Thomas to be the 5th, but I wouldn't want to take out any of the guys I've put in.
I agree.
Only because they've reached such heights already and they are incredibly young.
Harrison Smith is one of my favourite players in the NFL.
Yeah.
I can't believe I didn't write him down.
And so to put Earl Thomas in over those guys, he's probably a bit better than them, but then again, he has a lot more experience than them.
Okay, so Jamal Adams, Eddie Jackson, Harrison Smith, Derwin James, Eric Reed.
What?
Almost. Then we've got, as our 5th option, Earl Thomas, Kevin Byard,
Just those two, isn't it?
Mike Adams, because, it's nice to have someone who can tell stories about the war.
Yeah.
Tell the people what it was like in Victorian times when he was growing up.
Yeah, when we said it was one in the trenches back in the day, we meant a very different way. Yeah. It's got...
You're going to kill me.
It's got to be Earl Thomas, right?
Yeah.
I like Eric Reed. I think he deserved his contract. I'm glad they gave it to him because I did think they'd maybe ship him.
I now hope that they play him at his actual position and not free safety.
Yeah.
But we'll see. But yeah, Earl Thomas. So our safeties, oh my God, Jamal Adams, Eddie Jackson, Harrison Smith, Derwin James, and Earl Thomas. I think safety might just be my favourite position in the NFL. I'm sorry, linebacker.
I'd bring Kevin Byard in if I wanted to really upset Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Before a game. Yeah. Him and Nickel Roby Coleman could join it. It could form a club.
As I take about the studio. Now, of course, we need to decide on our coach. I know exactly what you're probably going to say, and I say, let's look younger. Let's not get someone in who will just tide the team over for a couple of years.
Belichick's younger than Phillips. Actually, no. I think that... I don't know who's older.
Belichick's 60-something, isn't he?
Yeah, Belichick's about
Wade
66.
Phillips is like 70, I think.
Oh, okay, so Belichick is younger than Phillips, and that's obviously who you were talking about.
I say, I'll give you 2 names. Ken Norton Jr., who's the very young defensive coordinator for the Seahawks, or Chris Richard, the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys, who was with the Seahawks,
But do you really think either of those can control some of the big names we have on our team?
Yeah, I think
Sean
with
McVay
a good head coach, yeah.
Sean McVay is a unicorn of a man.
I think Chris Richard has shown he can control some personalities on that Dallas defense
And
deal with Jason Garrett as your boss.
I was going to say, the important thing for Richard is he deals with Garrett and his,
stupidity.
But he also deals with Jerry Jones. And the fact that Jerry Jones has a lot to say. Jerry Jones had the opportunity to trade a 2nd-round pick for Earl Thomas, but then instead traded a 1st round for Amari Cooper. In the end, it worked out. I get it, fine. But Richard could have really benefited from having kind of like the cherry on the top with Earl Thomas. Yeah. Didn't get it, still produced, was the better side of the ball all year.
Yeah.
And was having to deal with Lawrence in a contract year and some of those...
who's the defensive tackle Randy Gregory, who's been done I think he might be an edge, been done like multiple times for PEDs and stuff like that. They have a defensive tackle who's been done once or twice for domestic abuse stuff or questions over that. It's not a clean defense, if you like. It's not a team of like good little boys who sit down and do what their boss tells them. He's had to like facilitate greatness in a different way, which I really like. And I like young coaches as well. The McVay effect, if you like. The other name I put in there is just Vic Fangio.
Yeah, I was going to say him.
Just because he is great. And we could bring his other coaches over with him and start up like the NFLementary Narwhals Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I'd throw in Brian Flores.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to say this now. I think he might be the guy to break the trend of guys coming out the Belichick tree and not working out.
Because I was looking for the shocked sound effect, but I couldn't find it. Let's just go for the kids saying yeah again.
And I get it, he's de facto coordinator and everything, but he's had to deal with some pretty big names.
Yeah.
He's had to deal with a pair of, brothers who could, say, no, there's 2 of us and 1 of you. He's had to deal with names that might think they're bigger because obviously Patricia was there for so long, but he's come in, done a really good job, done a better job than Patricia did.
Dealt with losing Butler.
Yeah, so I think I'd throw his name in there. He's dealt with big names, he's dealt with big personalities.
Like, the pressure. I don't know if I'd say self-created pressure because it is self-created, but just the very fact that the Patriots defense has always been great and the Patriots are always expected to get to the AFC Championship.
And they
at
held
least.
the Rams to 3 points. I get it's Belichick's vision, but someone has to execute it.
Yeah.
And that was him. And executing against that team is going to be really hard. With that in mind, Belichick.
As your defensive coordinator.
Why not?
Yeah.
Well, why not have him as your head coach?
If you're taking someone else to your head coach.
I didn't realise we were doing head coach as well.
Well, we'll be, but next
week. I'd imagine.
Okay.
On Friday.
Well, in which case then?
Are you going to say you can save him?
I'm
I
saving
will save
Belichick,
him.
Yeah.
Going for him over Sean McVay?
Yes.
So I'm guessing you're picking Wade Phillips, right?
Yeah, I've gone with
Yeah.
Wade Phillips.
Of course you have. He's just going to die soon, Mark. You need to
Whoa.
accept that.
Whoa!
Wow.
You only need him for like 10 years.
Why don't
He
we
can still
try and
go.
find Wade Phillips' son, and then we can find grandson of Bum?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's quite sweet, isn't it? He can wear the hat that his dad wore.
Oh no, that's too cute.
I am going to, as Mark said, stick my flag in Chris Richard. I love him. Think he's a great young coordinator. I think he'll do great things.
Wade Phillips created a game plan that held the Patriots to 13 points, which was
Brian, if you're going by that logic, Brian Flores executed a game plan that held the Rams to 3
executed a
points.
game plan. He didn't create it.
He was part of the creation, though. He
Yeah.
was there.
Yeah,
I'm
It's
sorry,
not just
but
going to be Belichick. Like, here's a sheet
how
of paper.
did Sean
you choose
McVay
it.
learn to scheme an offense the way he did? From Shanahan
Yeah.
and from Gruden. Everyone learns from somewhere.
And learning from Belichick's not a bad place to learn
And
from.
Rashad, by the way, was also only de facto because he actually wasn't the coordinator.
Also, Wade Phillips was probably there when the NFL was created.
Rashad was the brilliant. Rashad was the secondary coach, wasn't he?
Yeah, who had
Who called the
play
plays,
calling
yeah.
duties. In other words, our actual play caller sucks. So you know what? I'll go with Rashad.
Yay! And the children say, I didn't have the children saved. Forgot that I changed it. 'Cause I knew
And
it was
Jim
coming.
said, news!
Yeah.
Breaking news!
That's all we've got time for this week. I'll recap you through our team really quickly. Von Miller, Khalil Mack, JJ Watt, Bradley Chubb, Miles Garrett, Joey Bosa, Aaron Donald, Fletcher Cox, Geno Atkins, Jonathan Allen, Gerald McCoy, Luke Kuechly, Bobby Wagner, Darius Leonard, TJ Watt, CJ Mosley, Patrick Peterson, Jalen Ramsey, Richard Sherman, Aqib Talib, Denzel Ward, Jamal Adams, Eddie Jackson, Harrison Smith, Derwin James, Earl Thomas, and Chris Richard as our defensive coordinator. If you are interested in finding out what we have on offense, make sure you tune in on Friday at 9 a.m. Slightly earlier, I know, I'm sorry, where we'll be dealing with that. If you missed any of this week's episode and you'd like to watch it, it will be going up on our YouTube. If you don't want to wake up at 9 a.m. on a Friday, who blames you? That will also be going live on our YouTube probably on Friday. Yeah, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Thank you all very much for listening. I've got 13 seconds to fill. Yeah,
La
should be-
la 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 la
NFLementary
la la.
There we go. Let's end on that lovely. I don't even know what to call it. Thank you all very much for listening. Hope you have a wonderful Tuesday. Goodbye.